them by the Arabic Qurans and written from the Arabic writings. They are different from one another. Okay? So let me make it easier, and then I'll give you the name of those Qurans. Please do write it, as I will be referring them a little bit later. So, Quran number 1 is the Susi's Quran. It is from Abi Saib Salah ibn Zaid al-Susi al-Ghari. This is al-Shahabatai way. Okay? It contains 3,869 variations versus the Hafs Quran. Number 2 Quran is Abu Jafar's Quran. This is Al-Dora way. It contains 2,706 variations when we compare the Hafs Quran. Quran number 3 is the Yaqub's Quran, Al-Dora way. It contains 1,765 variations. Quran number 4. This is the Abu Umar al-Duri al-Baghdadi's Quran. It is the way of Abi al-Zara, Abdul Rahman ibn Abbas Quran. Contains 2,743 variations. Quran number 5. This is the Quran of Abdullah ibn Amr al-Sahimi's Quran. Narrations of Amr Hisham ibn there is something which I can't read. Asar, I think. Contains 1,519 variations. Quran number 7. This is the Quran of Abu Umar Hafs ibn Omar ibn al-Azad al-Aziz al-Duri's Quran from Al-Qisai way. This is the way of Al-Shabatai way. Sorry, I haven't found how many variations in that one yet. Quran number 8. This is the Quran of Abi Said Uthman ibn Zayd ibn Abdullah al-Masri's Quran, also called Warsh Quran. This is Al-Shahabatai way. Quran number 9. Warsh Quran, but this is the Al-Asad way, Al-Asabani's way. Quran number 10. Quran number 10 is the Sulaiman ibn Muslim ibn Jamas Quran. Sorry, I don't, Al-Dorai's way. I can't see how many variations in that one. Quran number 11 is the narrations. Quran number 11 is the Abu Umar Hafs ibn Umar al-Duri. Sorry, I don't have how many variations in that one. Quran number 13 is the this is the Al-Qisai's Quran. Layth ibn Khalat al-Baghdadi's Quran. Quran number 14 is the Shaba ibn Ayas ibn Salam al-Asid al-Nasadi al-Kufi's Quran. Quran number 15 is the Quran of Al-Imran Abdullah ibn Qatir Quran. Sorry, I don't have how many variations in that one again. Quran number 16, variations of Hisham ibn Amar al-Shami's Quran. Contains 614 variations when we compare the last Quran. Quran number 17 is the Quran of Ahmed ibn Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn al-Qasim ibn Nafi ibn al-Bazai's Quran. Comes from the also guy called short name Qumbu's Quran, which contains 312 variations. Quran number 18 is the Khalaf ibn Hasham al-Bazar al-Baghdadi's Quran. And also Khalat al-Shamai's Quran. Its Shabbatiyah contains 610 variations. Quran number 19, Shaba ibn Ayas ibn Shalam al-Asadi al-Kufi way, al-Shahabatai way.
Okay, continue.
I've got a couple of more. I'll continue. Quran number 20, Al-Imran ibn Amr al-Damashi's Quran. Also, it contains Zakwan's Quran. Quran number 21 is the Qalum's Quran. Quran number 22 is the Ibn Hafs Quran, which also contains the margin of Abu Mahab Abdullah ibn Qatir al-Durai's Quran. Quran number 23 is the Abi Said Uthman ibn Salih al-Masri, also called Warsh Quran. Quran number 25 is the narration of Ibn Hafs Ibn Salam's margins contains Al-Asai Ibn Salam al-Asid al-Kufi's Quran. Quran number next one. Abi Masud Esai Ibn Mela al-Zaki Quran, also called Halun's Quran. This is Abi Nasat's way. Quran number next Quran is the Abi al-Hasan Ruh Ibn Abdullah Ibn Abdul al-Mughad al-Hazi al-Basri Quran. Al-Basri Quran also. Next Quran is Ruwais Quran. And the next Quran is the Quran of Khalaf Ibn Hisham, Ibn Talab, Ibn Khalaf, Ibn Asham, Al-Asid al-Bazari's Quran. This is the Dora way. So I read you 26 Qurans name. Those are the 26 Qurans I have. And then I took, how many minutes I extra took?
1 minute 40.
1 minute.
All right.
1 minute. So
You ready, yeah?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So it's interesting that people talk about 26 different Qur'ans, but what is the reality of this? Islamic tradition tells us very clearly there is only one Qur'an that was revealed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which he taught his companions in several Ahruf, seven Ahruf. So we know this very clearly from Islamic tradition, which is mass transmitted and authenticated. The Prophet allowed the Qur'an, the same Qur'an, to be read in 7 different modes, let's call it, just to loosely translate the word Ahruf. We know examples of Umar bin al-Khattab, the companion, and Hisham bin Hakim, 2 companions. They recited Surah Al-Furqan slightly differently. And they went back to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet said, yes, this is revealed that way, and he says, told the other one, he says, this is revealed exactly. So the Prophet approved both of the readings, even though there were differences in the reading, because that's how Umar was able to notice that he was reciting slightly differently Surah Al-Furqan. So if we were to go to the 10 mutawatir, the mass transmitted authentic readings of the Qur'an in Surah number 25 of the Qur'an, we can see clearly some of the examples where there are differences that has been transmitted to us. So we know that there is one Qur'an, and this one Qur'an was transcribed by Khalif Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anhu in such a way that it can accommodate these readings that was allowed. So the text, as we know, Usmanic text, was devoid of the markings to differentiate between the vowels and the letters. So it does allow the readings that is now prevalent today, which we accept to be the Quran. So all these 26 Qurans that you talk about, we'll come to them in a minute, but we know there are 10 authentic readings. Each of them has 2 transmitters, and they have narrated this Quran. Their chain goes back to the Prophet. That means all of these readings of the Quran going back to the Prophet, we say this is Quran. We do not say this is a variant reading. We say this is another reading which is also Quran. The same Quran that can be read in this reading has been transmitted from the Prophet ﷺ. So the question is now, the examples of variance that you are showing, or you are going to show, can this be accommodated in the same mushaf that Uthman radiallahu anhu, which he commissioned, which he sent to the provinces? I am going to suggest to you that I will establish that if not the majority of the ones that you have out of this 45,000 you claim that you have gone through, obviously you haven't gone through each example, so you have just got some of the examples. All of these 70 examples or so on, I will show you the bulk of the majority is the same text of the Uthmanic Mus'haf, which can be read in those different authentic readings. So if we were to now start one by one of these examples, we can do that. But I want to now ask you about, you mentioned about Warsh. Warsh of Al-Azraq way, Warsh of Asbahani way, and Warsh, which other way did you say about this one? General Warsh. Yeah? So now I would like you to kindly provide 3 examples of differences between these Warsh readings, where the meaning is different or the words are different. So you can clearly say there are actually 3 different Warsh Qur'ans, not one Warsh Qur'an. So You talked about also hafs. It seems like there are more than one hafs. So again, I'm going to ask you to provide 3 examples from these hafs Qur'ans that you have in your list of 26 Qur'ans, and give me examples where that even a one word is different and has a different meaning. 3 examples of each will do to demonstrate to you whether there are 3 different versions, several different hafs Qur'ans. And all the other ones, one by one, we can go through, no problem.
It's your time.
No problem, carry on.
2 minutes.
It's okay.
So I'll just summarize for you actually what happened with the Surah 25, and you tell me which of those version of the Surah 25 in the current Quran I am reading. So there were the differences in Surah 25, which happens in the time of Muhammad, and then as story goes on, Umar noticed there are the differences. He was about to jump over him during his prayer, but I controlled my temper. And when he had completed his prayer, I put his upper garment around his neck and seized him by it. So these 25 different surah regarding the differences in Surah 25, actually they're not small differences, they were big differences, and Muhammad said okay to them. So my question stands, which is these differences I am reading or Muslims are around the world are reciting? If Quran is revealed in 7 different ways, and then Yasir Qadri says because Arabs were not capable to do that, I would love to know why Uthman thought it was all right for him to bring that to the one harf instead of 7 Ahruf. And the Qurans are in my bag, 2 of them actually in my bag, yet rest of it at home. They are the Qurans, they are not the Ahrufs. So Surah 25 is about the Ahruf. They are not about the Quran, and Muhammad discredited all the Ahrufs, and then he left only one Ahruf.
Say that again?
Uthman discredited all the Ahrufs, and then he just kept only one Ahruf. Yet it is the same Muhammad.
Where did you get this from? Can you explain?
It is the same Muhammad who doesn't know that much about, who didn't even remember the certain verses, and then he prays for people for reminding him. So there is a problem in the memory of Muhammad. And it is also same Muhammad who struck Ubay bin Ka'b from his chest, which broke him into sweating because Ubay bin Ka'b had doubts regarding the different Arabic Qurans. The way people were reciting, it was that difference. I looked at the Surah 25. Actually, when you compare with the other Qurans, there are not much big differences. Yet, today we don't have actually what was the Muhammad's original recitation. We don't have what was the Umar's recitation. We don't have what is the Hisham's recitation. We've got only what Uthman left behind. What Uthman left behind. So that's regarding the Surah 25. And then I asked Muhammad regarding the giving me those dates for when those 10 readings have been made official. Are those 10 readings goes back to the time of Muhammad, or they go back to after time of Muhammad? Because we look at the 800s and then we see there were 25 different Arabic Qurans were out there. And then in 9th century, 10th century, there are 50 different Arabic Qurans out there. And now in 21st century, people are talking about only 10 readings. Of course, Arabic Uthman compiled the Quran, which people can recite in lots of different ways. Here is what Arabic language looked like in 7th century.
Can you read it?
Without any dots. And I am sure Arabs can't read it because they don't have dots. For you to read this, you need dots. For that, you need this alphabet. Just from one, putting the 3 letters together, letter which looks like nun, if you put 3 letters look like nun together, you can come up with 51 different Arabic words. 51 different Arabic words. It can go from the from girl to proof, from house to building or house to girl. Or you destroy. So one same word can be lots of different meanings. Of course, because of that, of course, Arabic is communicate. What is the word to use? Arabic can. Arabic is able to hold it because 7th century no dots. In 21st century, I am reading Arabic, which contains lots of dots. It was difficult for people to read it.
10 seconds.
So I would love you to give me the dates and dates for the 10 reading. Also, I would love you to give me the sources for.
Time.
Okay. It is quite interesting to hear that you take an example of Prophet's lives where he forgot a particular verse from a particular surah because he was a human being. But it doesn't somehow suggest to you that because he forgot once, that means he's forgotten the whole surah. He remembered. And so did all the other people at that time. That's why he was able to get his remembrance back. People reminded him. So the Qur'an has been memorized by the Prophet and by the people. Not one person, hundreds and thousands of the companions memorize as much as they can. So you cannot just bring a lapse of memory from one instance of someone's life and saying, oh, he doesn't know the Qur'an. You cannot, even today, if you were to do this experiment, you cannot just because one person forgets to remember one verse and say, how can you preserve the Qur'an? Qur'an has been preserved. There is no doubt or dispute about this. So I asked you to simplify things because you said you couldn't go through all the examples about the Warsh Qur'an and the differences between them, the Hafs Qur'an, the differences between them. So using your own words, you failed to provide the examples. But I will give you the chance and opportunity to provide examples. What are the differences? 3 differences between the Warsh Qur'ans, 3 differences between the Hafs Qur'an. Because what I suggest is this. Because we say every single reading is traced back to the Prophet, this 10 mutawatir reading. None of these readings have been changed. They have been preserved to the letter, to the dot. I can do that with Hafs because this is what I've studied and researched. I will show you without any shadow of doubt the transmission from Hafs, the way it's been transmitted with more than 50 different ways, like you said, Dora way, that way, 50 different ways, where it has been meticulously preserved even to the Fatha, Dhamma and Kasra. What I'm talking about, the ways from Hafs. When you say Warsh has 2 different ways, we're talking about Warsh and then his students that have been transmitted. Hafs, likewise, his students has transmitted from him. So if you have all the different transmissions from Hafs downwards, they have been meticulously preserved even to the vowelings of A, E and U. That kind of preservation. So yes, I stand here making that claim, not a dot, not an hour who has changed for Hafs, and we can establish that. I haven't gone into that detail in Warsh, but we can do the same thing for Warsh in every single Qira'ah. So I'm going to wait for you to establish with 3 examples each from them. Now you talk about all these dates and so on. Look, I'm not here to talk about when it was authorized because all goes back to the Prophet through this chains of narration. We are interested in whether the reading goes back to the Prophet with an authentic chain of narration. If it does, then we accept. So when we talk about these differences in the Quran, I submit, as I said, bring your examples and I will demonstrate to you, if not all of them, apart from few. They have the same Uthmanic consonantal text. We can read the same Uthmanic text in all of these readings. So that means it's the same text, one text. From this one text, I can read in Ibn Kathir's way, I can read in Warsh way, I can read in the readings of Hafs, and so on and so forth. So if I can demonstrate to you this is one Uthmanic text which can be read by these different readers. So how many texts is this? It's one text, but it is read in several different ways. So you can't say there are 26 different texts, one text. That means one Quran with number of surahs, number is ayahs, the same, the content is the same. So I would like you to now be specific now, because I'm not going to talk about all of these things that you want to now talk about these dates and so on. Let's go to the very examples that you are willing to share, demonstrating to there are actually different Qur'ans. I will resort back to the original Uthmanic, dotless, vowelless Quranic text. And I have got the examples here to show you in that script. So now give me now, first of all, the Warsh, difference between the Warsh Qur'ans. 3 examples where they are different. textually and meaning. Carry on.
You're still on time.
I don't mind. Carry on. I'm here to interested in making this point clarified.
You got two segments left, yeah?
We will establish until we finish. We haven't got an example yet.
You haven't given me date for when those 10 readings were
I just told you it's not important.
It is important to me because they were established very, very late. So, can you please provide me 7 different ways for the Surah 25? What are those different ways? I would love to see evidence. Of course.
Can I do that now because I had the time? Can I do that now? Because I forgot actually. No, I didn't write this out. I forgot because I had time. So let me tell you about Surah 25.
Okay.
No, it's okay. No,
go on.
it's okay. I gave you more time, you gave me less time.
How long?
Sure. Surah 25. Now, Surah 25. Now, we don't believe as Muslims or in the scholarship of Islam that every single verse has to be read in 7 different ways. Because these are ways that can be read doesn't mean every single verse have to be read. So this is your misunderstanding of what it means by sabata ahruf or 7 different ways. If you now turn to Surah number 25, where the 2 companions, they differed in their reading. Let me give an example in Surah number 25. So ayah number 48, Ibn Kathir read rih and the rest read riyah. One is singular and one is plural. So imagine now Umar radiallahu anhu, he heard him reading in plural. That's a different reading. Because all the companions, they are meticulous even to the letter, to the vowels. So when they heard someone reading in a form of numbers which is singular and plural, he's saying this is a different reading. This is not something that the Prophet taught me. So this is one example of this. And it is singular and plural. So there are examples.
So you gave me for the Surah 25 only 2 examples.
Because he didn't give me time.
No, for one word you gave me the 2 different ways as an example. But that is Qur'an. I am asking for the Ahruf. Where are the Ahrufs for the Surah 25?
What is Ahruf?
No one knows what is Ahruf, but there are some guesses. So,
what do you think it is?
So, I am curious about the Surah 25, which made Umar to grab Hisham from with his cloth because of the differences. So if it is just because of singular and plural, then I wonder why some of those variations in those 45,339 are just singular and plural version of it. And why still those books are out if in the time of Muhammad they wanted to make someone to grab that person from their neck.
I explained that already.
So, I'm waiting for the 7 different ways for the Surah 25. You gave me one word in 2 different ways, but Hadith says there are 7 different ways for that Surah. So that's my first point. And here is one of the Uthmanic text, okay, without any dots. Even the consonantal letters doesn't have dots. So you can come up with lots of versions from this surah. Yet there are a couple of other versions. So in here, this is the alphabet, consonantal letters in the time of Uthman. Okay? As Mansur says, not even a dot changed. I stand here. Of course, dot didn't change. They didn't have dots. They added the dots much later. That's why it hasn't been changed, because it is all edited later. Early manuscripts don't have any dots. Early manuscripts don't have the dots. This is one of the examples for that. Some of the Topkapi manuscripts, they start putting the dots in the red, but not all the consonantal have dots, as you know that better than me. And they are 8th century. So you talked about 1,000 people memorize the Quran. I would love you to give me what they memorized for Surah 25, what did they memorize for Surah 9, what did they memorize for Surah 5, and what did they memorize for Surah 33. Where are those 1,000 people? Where are their writings as they memorized it? I've got problem, you heard, with Surah 33 verse 6, Surah 33 verse 40, and you can comment on that as well. Can you please give me the names of the people in the time of Muhammad who memorized the Surah 5 verse 6. I'm curious to know who memorized this ayah. You haven't provided date for me for the 10 readings. I am curious to know what were those 25 readings, and also what was those 50 readings in the early Islamic history. You talked about those imams are taking back those chains back to Muhammad and they are okay. I don't even believe Muhammad saw them, because those are not Ahrufs, they are the Qur'ans. Thoughts are edited later, and in the by those Warsh, when Warsh, the Quran which given to the attributed to the Warsh, when he started producing something, Muhammad was already dead by that time. Same for Hafs, same for Qalun, same for Zakwan, same for all those people. If you look at their dates are pretty late, 700s and 900s their dates. Let me see if I've got any Warsh version of the Quran. I can show you some variations on that.
Between the Warshs.
I don't have any Warsh Quran with me, but there are 3 Warshs. One of them hasn't been addressed. Which way is it? One of them is Al-Asabani way, one of them is Al-Azraq way, and there are differences within them.
Such as 3 examples, please.
If Muslims are open about it and they stand and then say there are not even dots changed, I am curious to see the critical edition of the Quran, especially those 3.
Okay. So now, again, look. You are making the same mistake again and again and again. Where does the hadith say about Surah 25 that it can be read in 7 different ways, the same surah? It doesn't say that. So this is a concoction, a fabrication, a distortion, a lie from you, as far as I can remember reading several versions of this hadith. It doesn't say Surah 25, the Prophet said, can be read in 7 different ways. So you just invented it. You've just made this up. Okay? What I said, as far as you understand from all the narrations about the hadith, it doesn't mean every single word or sentence or ayah can be read in 7 different ways. It means the Qur'an, the surahs that have been recited, there are this laxity given, flexibility given, but it can be read in different ways. We know what the differences ways are. You do not know, because when I asked you what are the Ahruf, he says, who knows? There are lots of opinions. Yes, there are lots of opinions, but we can determine what these Ahrufs are, because the Qira'at that is read today actually is accommodating those Ahruf, those ways of reading. Qira'at didn't just fall from the sky like this. The Qira'at, the differences between them came from those Ahruf, because the Ahruf is different way of reciting. So when they recite with differences, this particular recital has that kind of ahruf within it. So the ahruf can be in terms of inflection of verbs, whether the verbs is read in in a way like how am I going to use it, majroor or maksur or marfu, nominative, accusative or genitive way. A noun can be read in mansub and so on. Am I mixing this up? So whether the numbers can be used as singular or plural, whether so يحسب يحسب نحسب تحسب. So you can see how the pronouns can be changed within the verb, which is embedded within it. So different ways of reading, because they emanate from the qira'at. Now you talk about, can you tell me this surah, that surah, surah 9, surah this, who are writing, like we are telling you, our tradition is by memorization. It's Imam al-Nafi', the reader in Medina. He was, as far as I can recall, an imam of the Masjid of Nawawi. And he led the salah, being the imam for more than 40 years. Telling the Quran, reading the Quran, teaching this Quran. Where did he get it from? He got it from his teachers, who got it from his teachers. So we have this chain. It is not that he suddenly got this Quran from vacuum in one day, no. This has been a continuous transmission of this Quran, the Quran of Nafi', and his students, Warsh and Qalun, transmitted from him. So we are now saying this, that the ahruf, that what you are talking about, ahruf, the way is accommodated within the qira'at. So I'm going to now again charge you on specific examples. I gave you one example of Surah Al-Furqan. Look, this is a 10 reading Qur'an in the margin. Surah Al-Furqan, just to give you an example, look, differences of readings within the margin of the same surah. So we know, yes, there are lots of different readings by the reciters coming from the Prophet ﷺ of the surah. So all of them are Qur'an. So yes, there were variations in surah number 25. And why it was considered to be something serious, because even if you change a word from singular to plural, and if a person didn't know this, he will be saying, no, that's not the Qur'an. You can't read it like Qul huwa Allahu wahid. Everyone's going to grab you and saying, what is this you're talking about? This is not Qur'an. Qur'an is Qul huwa Allahu ahad. That's how we learned from our imams, recited all the way going back to the prophets. So if anyone introduces and saying, oh, wahid by the way, and this is going back to the prophet's time, he says, look, the prophet taught the companions like this. Then they will say, yes, now I accept. But before that, they would not even let this single, like nahsibu or tahsibu, for example, go away. One is you do it and one is we did it, for example, reckon and so on. So it is important to understand that the Quranic recitation, even to these differences, to the companions was very significant. They would not allow just minor significance of a letter or a dot or a vowel to go away unnoticing. How do you read like this? So yes, when you say, oh, how did he grab? It is because of there were differences. So we established there were differences, and these differences emanated from the Prophet ﷺ. So I am waiting still the differences between the Hafs Quran that you know of, 3 examples, and 3 examples from the Warsh. And then we will move on the examples that you have, the 70 or so slides, and I would like you to demonstrate that there are different texts from Uthman. I will, as I said, I suggest they are the same text.
So, you have failed to give me the date for when those 10 readings have been officialized.
Failed.
My turn. And the hadith for the Surah 25. So people are reciting Surah 25. They are going to the Prophet Muhammad for Surah 25. And Muhammad is not, hadith doesn't say Muhammad is commanding for the something else. Hadith says the Quran has been, Muhammad says, the Quran has been revealed to me in 7 different ways. Can you provide 5 verses for me from the Quran? And you can see the 7 different ways for verses. I would appreciate that. And also, it is amazing that hadith, that argument between Umar and Hisham, is they are from the same tribe, they are from the same people group, and Allah sends the same chapter to the same people group in the different ways, which Uthman in 20 years discredits all of it. And yes, people are argued when they heard the recitations, they were disagreed with one another. They went to the Prophet Muhammad and then he said, oh yes, because that's all right, Allah give it to me in that way. And it caused Ubay bin Ka'b doubt in his faith, which he got, Muhammad struck him from his chest, which broke him into sweat. So people complained about it. And it's not only that, when people complained about it, what happens? Allah steps in as always, wonderful Allah. He says, oh, it's not you forgot it, it's not like that. For example, Surah 87 says, we will make you recite and you will not forget except what Allah should will. Indeed, He knows what is declared and what is hidden. Surah 2 verse 106. We do not abrogate a verse or cause to be it forgotten, expect that we bring forth better than it or similar to it. Do not know what Allah is do you not know that Allah is over all knowing, competent? So people complain about it when they heard that surahs are recited indifferently. Muhammad said all right, and Allah steps in and then says all right to that. Very good timing. And then we see examples, for example, for that in Surah 4 verse 95. I am curious about the dates because I would love to know How those Qurans from 25, 50 to it come to the 10. And you talked about Warsh. He recited the Quran in Medina for 40 years. And I would love to know why today in England or around the world you do not use the Warsh Quran, yet Quran in Medina, but yet you go to the Quran in Kufa, and their datings again is approximately over 100 years after death of Muhammad. I ask you to provide me the names for the people. You talked about 1,000 people memorize the chapters. I would love you to provide those names for me from the time of Muhammad, that I can see who are those people, which we know they failed to write anything down. So I don't have any Warsh Quran with me, but I'm up, by the way. And then regarding the Ahruf, this is the book you made me to buy it and then pay for it, Science of the Quran. In that book, it talks about no true meaning of Ahruf is only known to Allah. It's good that you are making guess. It's good that Yasser Qadri was making guess on that. That's the author of the book. You made me to pay for the book. Yet he says no one knows the Ahrufs, and but he talks about Ahrufs are revealed in Medina. I am amazed that you think you are comfortable enough to make claims regarding what were those Ahrufs. What were those Ahrufs? Yes, there are the guesses, but true meaning of Ahruf is only known to Allah. But whatever was that Ahruf, Uthman got rid of it. Uthman made only one dialect, one version of that. So that's that point. I'll give you some examples regarding the variations in the Quran. Let me see if I've got any for the Warsh that you can compare. By the way, I'm waiting you to provide for me a surah which has 7 different ways that I can see that. Let me give you one example though.
All right, time.
Okay.
Can
So,
you give me 1 second? I'll give you one example.
okay.
There you go. It
No, carry on.
Salah?
Is it online? Why is it taking that time?
I don't know. Because I'm the one who read this first time.
Because of this. So,
Anyway, you go. I'll come
okay.
back.
So, Bismillah, okay. So you again concocting what is not there in the hadith. Concoction means you're fabricating, inventing, you're actually making things up. When we say you make things up, that's what you're doing. In the hadith about the Surah Al-Furqan, which you have read in your iPad, doesn't say that every single surah was revealed in 7 different ways. It says, when he recited, he says, this is how it was revealed. You recite, this is how it's revealed. The Qur'an, right. So from the Qur'an revealed in 7 different ways, to equate that to say every surah was revealed in 7 different ways is a fallacy. You cannot equate both the two.
So surahs
yes,
are not part of the Quran.
but it doesn't mean that every single surah can be read, every single ayah, every single word, every single letter can be read in 7 different ways. You see how you are actually making this fallacy? You're generalizing from one statement and you're specifying, making specifications. Say, oh, Quran 7 different ways means surah 7 different ways means ayah 7 different ways means word 7 different ways, letter 7 different ways. No, it doesn't mean that. As I've explained already, it means it can be read, certain things can be read in several different ways. And the examples I've given is in terms of inflection of verbs, numbers, in terms of words, ta'khir and taqdeem, inversion of order, or hadaf or isbat, which is presence of a letter or a word, or absence of a letter or a word. Okay? So there are several examples I've already given to you. You were just beating around the bush in terms of the differences about this when we ask about the Warsh and the Hafs. Because I want to know what are the differences between the Hafs Qur'ans and what are the differences between the Warsh Qur'ans. You should be able to find some 3 examples out of these hundreds and thousands of them. So you talking about the 25 Qur'ans and 50 Qur'ans and so on. Look, various people are reading the Qur'an as they were taught. There were some scholars, they gathered together the most famous readings, and then they've given us these readings. So as long as a reading has traceable back to the Prophet, mass transmission, agrees with the Uthmanic Mus'haf, even this two condition, we will accept it, because even the Arabic language will come into it automatically, as long as it's in line with the Uthmanic Mus'haf. It is authentic, acceptable to be the Qur'an. So even the Quran or Qumbul or Susi or Duri, all of them, we know, yes, this is authentically transmitted and it is Qur'an. So when we talk about, they during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they failed to write everything down. What are you talking about? Quran was written down, and that's why we know that when Uthman was compiling, radiallahu anhu, there were certain companions like Abdullah bin Mas'ud didn't want to give his copy that he's written down. So yes, it was written down. So this is a lie that was made even in the video between yourself and Jay Smith a few weeks ago, that the revelation was not written down. Quran was not written down. Even the Quran says, they accused Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam of being what? Someone who gets his Quran written down in the morning and afternoon. So yes, the Quran was written down, and we have evidence for this is the case. We are not guessing what the Ahruf is. There are opinions of what Ahruf could be from these narrations. And there are strong opinions and there are weak opinions. We go by the strongest opinion, say this is what Ahruf means, and we can establish this from what has been transmitted to us. Umar, or Uthman rather, radiallahu anhu, he did not get rid of all the Ahruf and he left one dialect. Where in the narrations you think he left one dialect? He doesn't talk about dialect. Does he talk about he left one Ahruf? So you're getting this again, you're making things up. This is one of the things consistent with your scholarship of your people. You make things up which is not in our traditions that we follow. So when we talk about the differences, I would like to now go through and challenge you that is this a different text? I'm here to challenge that claim of yours. There are 26 different Qur'ans. I am saying no, there is one Qur'an which can be read in several ways. 10 of them are mutawatir readings, and they have 2 different students who have transmitted the Quran as well. So give me examples of, which I'm fascinated to know, the difference between the Hafs Qur'ans in plural, several Hafs, Warsh Qur'ans, plural Warsh. 3 examples each. 3 examples each. If you fail to give, I've done it 3 times already, so I would say you are unable to provide an example. So we'll move on to other readings of the Qur'ans happily and show you whether there are different texts of the Quran or is the same text of the Quran. I don't need any time. Carry on.
You have not provided me 1,000 people who memorize the Quran. You have not provided me why you went to Warsh Quran instead of, why you went to Hafs Quran instead of Warsh Quran, who was Imam in Medina for 40 years. You talked about Ahrufs. I guess we are arguing, we are in the same page that no one knows what is Ahruf, it's Allah knows only. And you talked about Quran to be written down. The reason Quran is written down because people were dying, and those people who memorize the Quran, they are dying. Yet still not all the part of the Quran is written down, because some of them eaten by sheep, some of them people forget it. This is all from the Islamic tradition. You talked about Ibn Masud's Quran. There were you talked about he wrote the Quran down, yet you do not use his Quran. We don't have his Quran, and we don't know what was in his Quran. I ask you to provide 5 verses for me from the Quran, which gives you the 7 different ways, because Hadith talks about Quran is given to the 7 different ways. So is the Hadith saying, actually when it says Quran, it's only talking about couple of words over there, and it's not the 7 different ways, but it can be interpreted in couple of ways. According to Sahih Bukhari, Uthman ordered the Quran to be written in Quraysh dialect. And according to Muslim scholars, those 7 Ahrufs are the dialects, and then they give us what was those dialects are. One of them is Tamam, one of them is Yemen, one of them is Quraysh, and it goes on. So I ask you to give me the date for when those 10 readings have been officialized. you have failed to give me those dates. I checked my bag. I don't have 3 wash Qurans with me, but I'm gonna give you some examples from here, and my file is not opening, so I'm gonna go through those examples and we look at them. Of course, when you put them all together, you can come up with lots of different words. Because what Mansur is gonna do is he's gonna look at the Uthmanic manuscripts. He's gonna look at the Uthmanic writings, Uthmanic scripts, which didn't have the dot. I showed you a little bit earlier an example from the manuscripts. Here it doesn't have dot. In 9th century, 10th century, 21st century, when people edited dots, it changed the meaning. So, let's. Can I?
Yes,
So,
please. Let's go through that.
so I gave you the 26, the name of the 26 different Qurans. Can you just tell me first of all which Quran you are discrediting and saying it's not part of your qira'ats? I would love to first know that, and then from that I can move on. So as I show you the variations, can you please provide the biographies and what makes you to know those people have been trustworthy, since you haven't given me any dates regarding the 10 readings? Then I can follow that from that. So my first example is Quran Hafs and Zakwan. I compared all the Qurans to Hafs because that is the Qurans Muslims are memorizing all around the world. I didn't sit down and then compare what is the differences within Warsh, but I compared the difference from Warsh to Hafs. Surah 98 verse 6. By the way, just make it clear. I'm not, as I look at those 26 Qurans plus Hafs Quran next 27 Qurans, I'm not making a claim that it gives you different Islam. I'm not making a claim that it tells you go and worship a tree or go and worship a bird. I'm saying there are thousands of variations and you are not being open about it, so I'm helping you out on that. So,
30 seconds.
Surah 98 verse 6, Zafkan's Quran. When you look at the Arabic writings, remember, in the time of Uthman, they didn't have the dots. In the time of Muhammad, they didn't have the dots. Manuscripts don't have the dots. In here, we've got all the dots. When you put the dots in the places, it gives you different meaning. In Hafs Quran, it is creatures or creation, versus in the Zakwan's Quran, it is innocent. It written version of the Arabics are different. I got example, you can see them.
Time. Okay. You keep on asking about the dates. You failed to mention. I already pointed to you. Ours is a tradition which is oral tradition. We have got this oral traditions all the way back to the Prophet. So we can establish this when the Quran, in fact, each teacher in his lifetime, how many students he's taught and which two students taught where. So it's irrelevant about the dates. All going back to the prophets. You made a statement which is a total lie, that not all the Quran was written down, some of them were written by a sheep and something else. Forgetting that our tradition tells us when the Quran was compiled, Zayd bin Thabit radiallahu anhu, he was calling for people, bring the Quran, every single verse by verse, until he came to a point he could not find the last 2 verses. He got everything else, the last 2 verses, and he found someone coming. Yeah, Khuzaymah bin Thabit al-Ansari, or Khuzaymah. He came and says, okay, yeah, I am providing this verse. So complete it. He knew it by memory. He was waiting for this last verse to come, and that came. So even our tradition tells us every single verse was accommodated during the compilation. So you made a statement which is, total, what can I say, a disastrous lie, because our tradition tells us everything was accommodated. The stories about something was lost and so on and so forth, this is historical, momentous monuments. When we go to a museum and so on, because it is not this, because every single verse that was brought by witnesses and written down. And they did that for all the chapters of the Quran, all the ayats of the Quran, until everything was compiled. So I'm not sure where you get these mythical ideas from. You keep asking me, give me an example how you can read an ayah 5 different ways. 7 different ways. I'm telling you, this is not what we mean by Ahruf. It doesn't mean that every word can be read 7 different ways. Every letter can be read 7 different ways. Every chapter can. I'm saying the Quran in general, there are categories, 7 different categories of ways that it can be read. This is the Ahruf that is given. And our qira'at reflects those readings. I have already provided 5 of them already in terms of nouns and genders and pronouns and the order. I've already done that. You keep on asking for something which is ridiculous, I would say. We do not say every single ayah can be read 7 different ways, because that's not what our hadith says. So you are inventing things which is not even there and asking, demanding for it. I'm sorry, you can't do that, because that is being very unfair. Secondly, now you're saying this is very, very important. Muslims are apparently not being open about the various readings they have. Where did you get this Quran from? From a Christian bookshop? These are printed by Muslims. Even Saudi Arabia is printing Warsh Qur'ans. Qalun Qur'an, Duri Qur'an. Official Saudi stamp on it, right? And distributing around the world wherever people need it. So we are very open about it. And not only this, there are studies done long before you were even born, tabulating all the differences between the readings. For example, the reading between Hafs and Warsh, right? It's been tabulated in books, in poems, in Shatibiyya, in Durra. Already, I haven't got my poem already. Muhammad probably knows a lot of it. In poems, tabulated, poemized, whatever you call it. These differences are already established in the Islamic literature. Unfortunately, people do not learn, and that's the problem of people who are not learning. If you don't learn about your religion, that's your problem. That's not the problem of Islam. So we are not hiding that there are several authentic readings, and these readings can be read slightly different ways. It's open, it's transparent, it's clear, it's available long before you were born, long before J. Smith was born, long before Funda came into in the place. It's already available. So yes, we are very open about it. You came and saying, not you, Jay came along and said, thank you, Hatun, you're coming up with these differences. No, long before you were born, I'm sorry to raise this point, you were born, these differences were even tabulated in tables and books saying this is how they read. You, because you don't read Arabic, you don't have access to them. That's the limitation that you have. The limitation of your scholarship is you have no access to the original language and you think it doesn't exist. I'm sorry. Just because you don't speak that language, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It does, and it existed long before you came into this world. Now, secondly, the example you provided.
30 seconds.
Example you provided. You made a statement that this example refers to creatures and innocent. I'm saying you made this up. It doesn't mean innocent. Both of the meaning comes from the root word, which means what? But creation of God. It has nothing to do with innocent. You will not find any translation of this reading which says innocent. You just made this up. I would like you to provide and substantiate how you did that. Innocent. Where did you get this from?
All right.
Okay. Quran, you made a claim. So you haven't answered any of my questions so far, actually, regarding the dates. They are important. Regarding the Ahruf, and you haven't responded to them. So you told me those Qurans were written down. I would love to know, where is the Quran which Zayd bin Thabit wrote it down? Where is that Quran? I think every Muslim would be pretty happy if they see where is that Quran. Of course, Muslims are not open about it. I can see you got very personal and sensitive about the topic. If you were open about it, dear Mansur, can you just tell us, why do I get that threats? Because I say there are variations in the Quran by Muslims. I would love to know that. Only 20% of the Muslim world speaks Arabic. 80% of the Muslim world doesn't speak Arabic. Those informations is not accessible to me. Can you please tell me where is the bookshop I can go, and then tell them, can you please provide me with the 25 different qira'ats of the Quran, with the English translation I can go and compare. Some of the Qurans, for example, the Ruwais Quran, it doesn't even bother to give me the color code. I have to work them out from the shape.
You go by colors, I see.
I have to work them out by myself. So you have not been open about it. You have not been open about it. But I see you are sensitive about it. Here's the Arabic written of the Al-Bayati Quran. I am sure you already have your files, and then you can see how they wrote down the Arabic written version of the Surah 98 verse 6. You can see they are different from one another. So can you please tell me the letters, if you think they are exactly the same, and then try to explain it to me why Zahwan's letters are different. With knowing that, with remembering that, it is Sahih Bukhari. I am amazed that you are start discrediting the Sahih Bukhari regarding the compilation of the Quran, how it is compiled. It was Uthman brought it to the one. It was Uthman brought it to the one, while Muhammad made a deal with Allah and have the Quran in 7 different ways. Yet, a man who never met with Allah, who never met with angel, he brought that to down. It's very well known hadith from Sahih Bukhari. I am sorry you forgot to remember that hadith, but it's 5009 and 5010 or 60. I think it's 509, 5010 or 609, 610. And I forgot one of the points. I would love to see all those written down Qurans, which ordered by Uthman to be burned. Where are those written down Qurans? So where are those? They were disagreement, therefore Uthman burned them. So if you've been open about it, Uthman would keep them and then say, no, we don't agree with those Qurans, but Uthman burned them. Yet we don't even have the Quran from Uthman. The manuscript pictures you saw, they are laid after the Uthman. They don't have the dots. So they are very, very different than the Arabic Quran you are reading today. That time, dots are not there. Of course, Mansur would say, oh, because it's to accommodate that, like, so they can work together. But no, that's not the case. If they could work together, why then it change the meaning of the verses? So creatures and innocent are 2 different things. Let me make my point again. I'm not making a claim that it changed the way you worship. I'm not making a claim that it tells you go and worship something else. I'm telling there are thousands of variations and you are hiding those things. I cannot go to the bookshop, go to the Muslim bookshop and buy a critical edition of the Quran where they already worked it out for me. In English it says, that's that Quran, it says this, that's that Quran, it says this. You don't have that. If you do have that, please to provide for me, and I apologize, maybe I haven't been good enough to visit all the bookshops in England. And then let me give you another example from another Quran. Yet I am still waiting you to provide me 7, so Hadith says regarding the Surah 27, Quran is revealed in 7 different ways. Just give me 5 verses which I can show those 7 different ways for that ayah or for that surah.
Okay. So I'm not going to bother again repeating the same answer again and again. It's a waste of time about give me 5 different ways, 7 different ways or 5 verses. There's an issue of comprehension perhaps here. Okay, I'll let that go. You're again asking, we're not being open. We can't find it. If you go to the bookshops, specializes in the Quran, you can find these books available because that's how the students have access to them. You don't go to Islamic bookshops, specialized bookshops, you go to somewhere where they're not available and you say, oh, they don't exist. Look, this is an example here. غاية سروري في رواية الدوري من قراءة أبي عمر البصري من طريق شاطبية وطيبة. That happens to be Arabic. Of course you don't speak Arabic.
So that's Arabic.
Yeah.
So it is not accessible to 80% of the Muslim speakers.
Wait a second. You keep on saying Arabic, English, Arabic. These are specialized fields. You can't expect everything to be translated. They are being translated. For example, did you know the Warsh, one of the Warsh Quran has been translated in English? Perhaps you didn't, because you haven't got this information. You only have,
I've got one of the Warsh translations.
So you have. So they are translated when there's a need for it. So we do have in Arabic these works available for Muslims and non-Muslims talking about the Quran and the readings. So you are very, very dishonest to say we are not open. You might say in the English-speaking world we do not have these available yet in translation. A Chinese come along and say I don't have that in Chinese. This is a matter of translation. It's available in the Arabic language. Now your point about creatures and innocent, I asked you, you just made it up. Because if we go to the Uthmanic consonantal text, it's the same. the consonantal structure of bariya and bari'a, it is the same text, which can be read in these two different ways. You think one of them means innocent, other ones mean creatures. I say no, both of them comes from the same word bara'a. Bara'allahu al-khalq means he created them. It means creatures. So both cases have the same meaning, but they have these different forms. Because there are many words like this, they can have these forms, but the same meaning. Where did you get this meaning from? That bariya means innocent. Someone told you. Someone perhaps who doesn't speak Arabic Fusha of the Qur'an. They told you this. I am saying you just made this translation up. Because if you go to the linguist, the Arabic language linguist, they tell you where this word, this particular form comes from, the origin of it. Sometimes word, the Hamza, is changed because of what we call kasratul isti'mal. Because a lot of usage like this, the Hamza is omitted in a particular word. It is available in Arabic language in so many examples. So both of the examples here, I am telling you, let me show you now, okay? So because you take time for showing, so you can pause this and I will show you what I mean by the same text. So I am going to establish one by one that it is the same single text, right? So let me go back to it. Bariya and this, right? 98, the example of 98. This is how it's written in the Uthmanic text. This text can be read in both ways. Like you keep on referring back to one of the manuscripts images. I am saying the text remains the same, hasn't changed. It's the same text. It's preserved. It's the same text. How many text difference? The same. One text. And this one same single text can be read in this form in these two different ways. So how many texts is there? One text. How many Qur'an is there? One Qur'an. But we can read this in several ways. In this case, we can read in two different ways. Provide me another example, because now every example you provide, I will demonstrate to you. We are talking about one Qur'an, one text. Examples, please. Well, now we're going to go to examples. No, forget about time.
No.
I've made my point. Carry on with example number 2. I am not interested in, you failed to provide this, you failed to provide that. I am moving on now, specifically challenging you and in fact challenging your claim that there are 26 different Qur'ans. So I've moved into first example. After failing to mention the differences between Warsh, between them, and Hafs, between them, we go into your examples that you have. Every one of them. First one is over. I'm telling you, you made up the meaning. I'm telling you it's the same text. And I'm telling you we can read in both different ways. Now example number 2. Let's move on.
Is this time over?
You got 10 seconds.
Doesn't matter.
Okay,
Example number 2.
So,
The time doesn't matter.
Move on.
Oh,
4 minutes, 4 minutes. 5 minutes, 5 minutes, how many? Anyway. So,
make it 4, yeah.
20% of Muslim world understands Arabic, 80% doesn't understand, and this is one of the examples. You said you stand that there are not dots even changed. The picture you showed me and picture, can we just compare that to show them to the Muslims, Mansur? The picture you have contains only 2 lines under the consonantal letters. Here's how the Arabic is written. If not even the dot changed, how those dots edited to the Quran, which are not same picture you are showing me. This is the current which side? Right side has the different. This is the Hafs Quran, has the different dots than you've got in your picture. So dots are edited and it does change the meaning. I went to the Arabic speakers who teach the Arabic. They do confirm all those meanings. So, can you just explain me how the dots not even changed, yet you've got the words are in different ways. Words, actually, let me count how many dots are there. And not dots. How many, remember, Arabic contains 28 consonantal letters and 22 of them needs dot for you to understand which letter is that. That's noon, all those kind of things. I got the pictures of it, I can show it to you, which I did earlier. So in here we've got the consonantal letters and dot does change the meaning in the Hafs Quran versus in the Zakwan's Quran. Of course, you would go, what is the root of this word? Because you see the shapes and the graphs are different from one another. It does change the meaning. It does change the meaning. That was the example 1.
2 minutes.
Here, example 2. This is the Surah 28, verse 48. So I've got Hafs Quran versus Warsh Quran. If you look at the drawings, you will see letters are different. Arabic writings are different. It's not the pronunciation, it is the Arabic letters. Don't nod your head, you know they are different. Even I can see they are different. And I don't even need to see their shape is different, meaning is different. 2 works of magic versus 2 magicians. That's only 2 out of 4,339. Another example from another Warsh Quran, 36, 68. Arabic writings are different because, of course, do I know Arabic or not? Even the people who don't know Arabic, when they heard, not even the dot changes. When they look at these graphs, they see dots are changed, man. They are seriously changed. So, 38 verse 68. So sensitive.
She doesn't know how to read. Don't worry
Very
about it.
sensitive, Muslims. So, they not understand verses, you not understand. So, word has been changed. Arabic written version of this Quran is different. Surah 98 verse 7, Hafs Quran versus Warsh al-Basani Way Quran. Again, Surah creatures versus innocent. Arabic writing is different. Not even the dot changed, but Arabic letters are changed.
Can I see one of those leaflets? Can I see one, please?
When we finish, sir, can you wait a little bit? Thank you.
All right, Mansur.
Okay. You see, you misunderstood what I said about dots and vowels and and u sounds and u sounds. You misunderstood, and that's the problem. You need to understand what our claims are. I am saying, look, the Quran has been written by Uthman in such a way that it can accommodate the readings that have been taught by the Prophet. It's an amazing task that was done. Amazing. Even though we know that dots were available during the time of Uthman. We know that from the Syriac languages, they had dots. Syriac and Arabic, if you read the writings, they had the convention. But it was not employed in the Quran for a reason. Why? That these readings can be accommodated. So the Quran, for example, the example now you've given, 28:48, here it is. In the original Uthmanic text, it is like this. And it can be read in both ways in your example. Same text, same Quran, but the reading is different, can be read in 2 different ways. So again and again we find it's the same text of the Quran, which is the same Quran, one Quran, but reading can be done according to what the Prophet taught in different ways that he taught. Sihrani and Sahirani from the same text. So again, I prove to you again, on your second example, it is the same text, but it can be read different ways. So when you say there's a dot there in the new editions or new printing, yes, it is helping people, facilitating them to read it. Okay, that's there. But when I talk about dots and vowels, is that if you have a particular reading, like Warsh, the Warsh reading of that particular one, that particular verse, is preserved like this throughout the centuries, throughout the different ways. It's the same reading, the same dots and the same vowels. So all that, for example, Warsh transmitted through his students, that reading from his time till today, no dots changed, no vowels changed, the same reading. So our claim is every single reading of the Quran, which we say is acceptable, the mutawatir, 10 readings, each one of them, if you analyze individually, Not a dot you can produce and says change. Not a vowel, not a word, not a sentence, not a chapter. It is exactly the same throughout the world, throughout the times. That is what we're claiming. We are not claiming there are not differences between dots between Hafs and Warsh. Of course there are. That's how we're able to tell that there are differences. Otherwise, can there be any difference? There won't be any differences. So our claim is every reading has been preserved meticulously to the dots and to the letters, to the vowels. Every reading. If you look now through memorization, if you look now through the written works, it's precisely like that. Your other example, Taqilun and Yaqilun, 3668. So if you now go back to the Uthmanic consonantal skeleton, 3668, here it is. Here it is. Exactly, the word can be read in both ways. Same text, same Qur'an, but it can be read in two different ways. This is what Uthman did. He facilitated this reading by one standard text. So how many Qur'an is there? One Qur'an. How can you read it? You can read it in two different ways. Now, third example, 98:7, Bariya. This is same thing again about as we said. It doesn't mean innocent because grammatically this word can and is explained that it is the same word and the same meaning. Same text, same one single text, and the same words can be read in different ways. 3 examples, you failed to provide different Qur'ans. Move on to your 4th examples.
Sorry?
Example number 5 now.
Can we close?
Yeah, I want to go through. So you failed, we have to conclude, you failed to provide more than one Qur'an. No, so far, don't worry. So far, out of 70 examples, we've covered 4.
We do 4 minutes each, yeah? Conclusion. Go.
So, you compare those graphs to the your Uthmanic Quran, which you don't have the Quran from Uthman. That's another topic. I'm not gonna go through that. Can you please provide manuscripts evidence for me that Warsh Quran since 812 has not changed and preserved even dots by dots? Where is your manuscripts evidence for 812 for the Warsh Quran? Where is your manuscripts evidence for Qalun Quran for 835? Where is your manuscripts evidence for Ibn Kathir 636? I would love to see exactly the same words in there if dot is not changed. Yet the graphs you show me, those graphs are very different graphs than you are reciting today. So you talked about it is to accommodate the Arabic. No, actually that's not the case. It does change the meaning. These are not how you read it. These are how they written down. They are written down in Arabic with dots. They are written down in Arabic with different graphs. So throughout centuries, Muslims are telling us there is only one Arabic Quran. I gave you the 26 names of those Arabic Qurans plus Hafs Quran, and then I showed you from the manuscripts that in the time of Uthman, manuscripts did not have the dot. 28 Arabic consonantal characters, and only 6 of them can be recognized that they are different from rest of it. For you to understand rest of it, you need dots. And only from 3 letters, just putting them together, you can come up with 51 different words. So, just if you take those things out, and then if you look at your graphs, which you make a claim that that's the Ottomanic, you can actually come up more than 2. You can come up with lots of them, and they would change the meaning of the words. So, I made a point that in the time of Uthman, if even the Quran was written down, there was a disagreement, and Masud's Quran, we don't have it. We don't have the Zayd's Quran, and we don't have a good memory of the Muhammad who recited the Quran after the conversation with the angel. And whatever the Quran is given to in 7 different Ahrufs, Uthman thought it was alright to discredit everything, and then he kept one dialect according to Sahih Bukhari. And Muslim scholars would tell us only Allah knows what is the meaning of the Ahruf. So qira'ats, those are the qira'ats, you just say they are the readings. They are different written version of the Arabic words. Arabic words are written differently and it does change the meaning of that word. So 26 Qurans, only looked at the 23 of them or 22 of them, 45,339 of them. Yet, can you please provide me name of the bookshop where I can go and then get the English translation of those all the variations which is accessible to us for us to see them. So they are, Arabic is written differently and I would love to see the English translation accessible to for the rest of the 80% of the Muslim world. And of course there is a big question, this 20% of the Muslim world who understands the Quran, do they go and check those different readings? Yes, Muhammad failed to remember the Quran fully. People fail to recite write it down Quran fully.
Okay, your time's up.
Yeah.
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I gave this opportunity for you to demonstrate and defend your claim of 26 different Qur'ans. And what I've demonstrated, bi'idhnillah, that all the examples so far you provided demonstrate one Qur'an, one text, which can be read in several ways. You did not find several Qur'ans. It's the same text that can be read. So your claim of 26 different Qur'ans is actually a hype, if not a, I don't know what to call it, I'm not going to use any other language. It's a hype, right? You're hyping out, you're saying like, Bible has changed, so has the Qur'an. Our Qur'an is what Uthman radiallahu anhu standardized for whole of the Muslim world. And if we go, I should have brought, because I didn't bring a bigger bag today, top copy manuscript, or the manuscript of Ali bin Abi Talib, or the Sana. I've got 3 facsimiles. I could show you from there the wash reading. Exactly the wash reading. Exactly Ibn Kathir's reading. Wait.
Let
me finish.
Top of the Quran. You can show it from
So I can show you from there. You can read.
It doesn't have the dots.
Look. Can I read this Quran in the wash reading?
It
The answer is, wait.
You can read it in the wash reading.
Listen,
you can read it in the Prime Minister version.
Listen. Remember what I said.
You can read it in the Queen
Remember
version.
what I said. The Quran has been preserved, and these readings are coming from this preserved Quran. I'll show it to you now. I have examples, right? So what we have is this. These top copy manuscript image, for example, if I were to read the way we read today by Warsh, am I able to read it? The answer is categorically yes.
Okay, let's practice that one.
Wait.
Can you read the page for me?
I can read this mushaf
Yeah,
like the reading of Warsh. If I'm unable to, because the consonantal skeleton is so different, then I'm not able to, then I can't read it, right? If this consonantal, let me finish. After my time, we will do that experiment. If I'm able to read the readings of Ibn Kathir, or Ibn Zakwan, Kumbul, Susi, Duri, all these readers and transmitters from the same text, what it tells you, there is only one Quran, but it can be read by different ways.
Nope.
So, has the wash been preserved? The text remains the same. Nope. The reading can be read from the same text. So you failed. What is this word? Failed to demonstrate there is more than one text, because when we go back to our manuscripts demonstrate there is one text, the readings of which can be read within them the way they were taught by the Prophet. Amazing thing that Uthman radiallahu anhu did. You should thank Uthman that he accommodated this reading within the single text. The text that he couldn't accommodate, sometimes he wrote wa wassa and wa awsa with a different letter and sent to the specific province which was reading that particular reading. We know this. We know certain examples where even the manuscripts had these slight differences, even with the consonantal additions and omissions. Why? Because you can't have everything read within the same consonants. So he allowed these differences to be written within the manuscripts and transmitted and copied in those provinces. This is what we're talking about the Quran. But the fact remains, it is the same one Quran. The examples you given, I asked you to give me all the examples. I was willing to go through all of them. Maybe we'll do another time. And I will demonstrate to you like I've done today. 5 or 6 examples so far you've given. When I go to the Uthmanic text, it's the same text. Is it a different Quran? No, it isn't. So I am sorry, give you the opportunity to defend your claim, and you fail miserably. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa akhir da'wana, and alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
As you know better.
So let me now read to you like this, okay? If I can, because I can read some of Kufi perhaps, but this is Hijazi. Okay, let me see, let me try. Okay, let me try. You haven't got the full text, right?
That's the text.
No. Part of it and so on and so forth. Okay, let me start like this.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Mansur, should I try?
No, you can try, I can try. See, clearly here, alayhim, this word here, can you hear? Alayhim. How did I read alayhim?
So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I would say there are over the 50 Arabic words here.
No, I just give you one example. I can try from the very beginning.
There are approximately 50 Arabic words here. And it was awesome that you recognized one word.
No, I just showed you one obvious word which you can recognize.
No, you took time. You took time to look at it, and then you can't read it.
Yeah.
You can't read it. So
Give me the
this,
time, I'll read it to you, all of it.
Mansur, you know better than me. You can't read it.
Give me the time, I will show you.
You can't read it because you.
Give me the time, I will read it to you. Why are you so afraid? Give me the time. We're not filming anymore. We are we are filming.
Read
but
it
we
now.
can show to you now.
Read it now.
No, so you cannot read it because
Don't
it
say
doesn't.
cannot. Give me it again. I will read it to you.
Read it.
Let's do that next week, okay?
Okay, do that next week.
I'll bring you the manuscripts and I will ask you to read it for me. I got to go because it's just too late, okay? Thanks for your time.
You're welcome.